Welcome back to the Relationship Whisperer Show with Miss Dragonfly, where we discuss all things relationships with the aim to make marriage great again. Now, today, as usual, I will be discussing a celebrity that's been in the news, and we'll be having a look at their astrology charts. And then also I'll be going to relationships, and continuing on with my series, I will be giving specific relationship advice to men, because as I mentioned before, they have been terribly underserviced. So I guess it's only right that we should set aside some time and provide information and advice specifically for men. Okay, ladies, it's going to be your turn soon, but ladies have had a lot of relationship advice and articles and then things for ladies, but there's pretty much been close to nothing for men. And what I mean that is proper relationship advice, not relationship advice that tells them how to pick up women and that sort of thing, which is not really relationship advice. So either that or they have to rely on, say, pastors and priests, which can be off-putting to a lot of people, not just men, full stop, because of the religious element. So what I provide is a no-nonsense relationship advice, and very rational as well, so men can relate to it and understand and take it in. But first, I will be going through a celebrity that's been in the news. I mean, not so much that everyone knows about her, but I think the younger ones and those that are Disney fans would probably have heard about all that drama right now. And that in particular is Rachel Zegler, the star of the new Snow White live action remake. I mean, if we've all remember of the classic 1937, I think it was released, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. From what I understand, that movie really launched Disney as Disney. And Walt Disney himself was alive then, and that was his project that he really wanted to do. I guess that was his pet project. And from what I understand, it cost like $2 million to produce it back then, in terms of money in the 1930s. I mean, $2 million is a lot of money now. I mean, can you imagine $2 million in the 1930s? Wow. Like, I think that was almost like a Titanic, like the equivalent of the Titanic movie that being released in modern times in terms of the sheer scale and the cost. And as you can imagine, back then, there was no computers, so everything had to be hand-drawn and hand-coloured and so forth. And so that was very labour-intensive. And so I guess that's where the money really went, aside from paying voice actors and editors, so to speak. And so that was a classic. Everyone remembered that, with the Seven Dwarfs, and they all had names for them, fitting their characters, Sleepy, Snoopy, Troopy, or I can't remember all the names, but it was it was character names, and I think everyone enjoyed it. But then it's such a classic. So I guess Snow White thought, I wouldn't say Snow White, I think Disney thought they'll still be able to make money doing a live action, like rehashing. Like, so many studios, as you can see, do remakes of old-time classics, and maybe not so much old-time classics, even quite modern classics. I mean, think back, I remember back in the late 80s, there was like a Schwarzenegger film called Total Recall, which was an action-packed one. And then they decided to do another remake with, I don't know, Colin Farrell or something in the 2000s. So it wasn't that big a classic they had to remake. But I guess for studios, it's always like a safe bet to remake what was a smash hit. Okay, and Disney has been known for lots of remakes. I mean, animated films that's quite recent, were relatively recent, would have been like Beauty and the Beast. I think released, in the 90s. And then they did a live action one of that with Emma Watson, who was the star of the Harry Potter series. And that worked. That worked really well. I mean, it made a lot of money. And then I also did a recent remake, well, maybe 10 years ago, of Cinderella. I'm not sure when that movie came out, but that did well as well. And because they essentially stuck to the storyline and so forth, and the casting was true. Now, I'm going to talk a bit about the casting. The live action remake of Snow White was steeped in controversy from the word go. Least of all, what happened was they cast a Latino actress, to play Snow White. I know in this day and age of wokeism and progressivism, all the giggies and what's trending is trying to what they call diverse casts, but to me it just seems like it's not actually a diverse cast that they're after. It's more like swapping. I mean, Snow White was like a Grimm's fairy tale all the way back then, from hundreds of years ago. And it was from Germany, and Snow White was a German princess. And as the line goes, if everyone remembers, hair as black as ebony, lips as red as blood, and skin as white as snow. Hence her name, Snow White. And the story and the name of the fairy tale is Snow White. Now, Rachel Zegler is a Latino. Okay, I think her father might have been Polish, which hence the surname Zegler. But her mother was a Colombian, and from looking at her, she actually looks Latino and darker skin rather than the white Polish from her father. I know, with mixed people and mixed race people, they either go directly into the middle in terms of appearances or lean more towards one parent side than the other. And I guess with Rachel Zegler, she leaned more to, from the looks of it, at least she looks more and leans more to the Latino side. And so that casting alone, when she was cast, sparked heaps of controversy, because it's one thing when they replace like the Little Mermaid, did a live action one with a black actress. Okay, there's controversy about that because the original is a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, and the brothers were were Danish back then, so expect it would be white. And when they did the movie The Little Mermaid with Ariel, it was a white mermaid with red hair. When they cast the movie for The Little Mermaid, it was Halle Bailey, who was a black American actress. And that was heaps of controversy, though. It was not directed at Hailey at all, because she just happened to be cast in that. It wasn't her fault at all. And she was very gracious about it and just did a role and went about her business. But all the anger and the flack, I guess, was directed at the producers, namely Disney as well, for race swapping in that movie. However, with Snow White, it's a little different. Besides the actual name, it's Snow White. You expect the cast and actress to be that. I mean, to look like Snow White, at least how we perceive Snow White, because it's in the name. The skin isn't as white as snow. That's why it has that name. And she is brown, I'm saying. So the joke is it's not Snow White, it's Snow Brown. And they want us to suspend disbelief and just think, imagine her skin is white as snow, hence the name. Okay, even though she is brown. I mean, look, you're never going to cast people that look directly exactly like the character. Back then, Hollywood has been guilty of race swapping in the past, namely by whitewashing. Like I remember, those westerns in the 1950s or 60s, whatever, they had white actors browning themselves and playing Native American roles, and so to speak. And even older Hollywood movies set in, say, in Asia, China, like The Good Earth, the main characters were white and they just had Asianized makeup and pretended to be Chinese, and we all had to go along with it, and that was a bit, yeah. So now there seems to have swapped the other way, and I don't agree with it. It's not like suspending belief. Like, it's okay, you might have an American with a bit of makeup playing, say, a Russian person, that sort of thing. But to have asked us to suspend disbelief, say, casting, say, Danny DeVito in the role of Prince Charming, and asking us to suspend belief and watch it as if you're watching a young, handsome prince coming to the rescue that's played by Danny DeVito. As in, come on, you just ruined the movie from the get-go. It's this sort of thing. The same thing when they cast a black actress, Jodie, I think, Turner-Smith, a black British actress as Anne Boleyn. I was thinking, no, come on, it's just suspending disbelief. And I guess the left side was saying that, oh, okay, but you never really know what she looked like. And some of the description she looked like was described her as olive complexion. But hey, even if we don't have a true painting of Anne Boleyn, one having an olive complexion and bearing a dark brown complexion, like in the case of Jodie Turner-Smith, it's two very different things, very out there. But also, even if we have no known portraits of Anne Boleyn, all we have to do is look at her daughter, Queen Elizabeth I, which was pale as anything. She was a redhead and very pale, and there's numerous paintings of Queen Elizabeth I, which no one disputes that it's authentic. And they all show her in the same sphere, a redhead with almost white skin. And so her mother could not have been black or brown, simply because you look at her daughter. So that's something, race swapping, I don't agree with, in that when we watch a movie, especially a historical movie or drama set in certain places, we want to actually look at it and see that it's believable. You know what I mean? And not have to suspend our disbelief and seeing a black person back in medieval or Tudor times in England, that's saying part of royalty, which it wasn't. And it's just like trying to get us to buy that Danny DeVito is a handsome young prince because he's playing that role. Now, come on. It doesn't work. I don't know. It seems to be some type of agenda. I mean, from what I understand, Disney lost quite a bit of money with The Little Mermaid. I think the total loss was $150 million because people were put off watching the movie because they had race swapped the main character, The Little Mermaid, black rather being a redhead white. Because people, especially little girls and children, go in expecting, we're going to see live action of The Little Mermaid. And in their mind, they watch the animated cartoon of The Little Mermaid, and that's not it. It doesn't gel. And I remember seeing a little clip on, I don't know if it's TikTok or one of those places, when they had a little black girl watching the movie, Little Mermaid. She says, that's not Ariel. Why? And then Mummy goes, why isn't Ariel? Because she's not white. Even the little girl is saying so, like saying, come on. Two wrongs do not make a right. Okay, Hollywood was guilty of whitewashing characters and having white characters play with racial makeup, and even, I say, blackface or Native American face or even Asian face, trying to play those characters. That was dead wrong. But now, and you should really cast the races according to the characters, really. them trying to flip it the other side by getting all these different minorities, especially black actors playing white characters, doesn't fix, like I say, two wrongs do not make a right. Okay, so there's a bit more to go on with regarding that controversy, but I think the main controversy that was already controversial enough, but that did not help with the main lead actress, actually, Rachel Zegler, wading in and creating additional controversies of her own. Now, back to Snow White, this new live action movie that they've done by Disney. And problems all the way from the get-go with that movie. First of all, people heard that firstly, the actress is going to be a Latina. And she looks like a Latina, so obviously her skin is not going to be white as snow, and it isn't. The other thing is there's going to be no dwarves in the movie. They got rid of the dwarves, so now they've replaced it with what they called, they did, 7 magical creatures. Okay, and a still from one of the movie, the behind the scenes, showed that there were these 7 people. There was only like 1 dwarf in there. And there's a mixture of white and black people, with including a black woman. And there was like one tall white guy there with a beard, with a scarf around his head and tied under his chin. I don't know what that he's supposed to be. So I guess they were afraid of offending people, like what they call little people or dwarfs. And I think it all came from Peter Dinklage, who played the dwarf in character in Game of Thrones. And he was criticise, the original story, what you had dwarves living in a cave, like, come on. So because of that, I guess Disney took his comments to heart and did not cast any dwarfs. So the movie, it's not Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, it's just Snow White and whatever. And I guess now the dwarf community, dwarf actors were up in arms because they've missed out on a chance to star in a big production, Hollywood production. As you can imagine, there's not many roles for dwarf actors and movies having dwarf characters. And so this was almost like a chance of a lifetime for them to star in it. And 7 of them missed out the chance to star in a major production, all because of Peter Dinklage, his comments. I mean, and they're criticising, well, he was all fine and well to play dwarfs before, but then now that he's earned all his checks and cashed it in, he's cut off the chance for other dwarf actors to also earn decent money, or potentially big money from it as well. So that was that was the start of it. But not only that, so there was lots of criticism against Snow White, Disney, because it's no longer going to be Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, like it was in the original animated tale or animated movie. And with the Latina actress now, she actually did not, she actually made the situation worse, Rachel Zegler. I mean, not only she criticized the movie, okay, in some of the interviews that's basically online now you can see, and some of the comments was that she criticized the original movie came out in her words, I think it was like, I'm paraphrasing, 1937, and very evidently so. And it was more based around her love story. Okay, and with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
That was her reaction. And she criticized it, but now, it really dated in terms of women's roles and the original movie was. Now it's all about women. I guess in that movie, not going to be saved by the prince, as she said. She's going to be the leader that she knows she can be. But hello, that's not a Snow White tale. I mean, if you want to do that, then call it something else. It's not Snow White. The Snow White original tale, yes, it was about true love. She was longing, and Snow White was singing about true love. Like, I think one of the songs was, "One day my prince will come." No, really, Prince may not come for everyone, but I don't think anyone says that they don't want true love. I think in the hearts of people, everyone wants true love. Now, come on, who does not want to be loved? And the way things are going, and it seems out there like wanting true love is a bad thing, not only dated thing, but it disempowers you, it disempowers women. Women shouldn't be thinking about love. They shouldn't be thinking about being leaders and so forth. I mean, but how many people want to watch a movie about a girl wanting to be a leader as opposed to wanting to watch a love story or a love movie? Like, come on. Well, criticism about that, and that she came off as being very entitled with the movie. Like, look, if you've got the lead actress not even disparaging origins of the movie and so forth, what does it mean for it? And so there was lots of flack, and she got a lot of criticism, so much I think she walked back on that. And then I think she got tapped on the shoulder by Disney to say, look, honey, you better say nice things about it. We want positive coverage about it. And then there was a highly curated, carefully constructed interview between her and Hailey Bailey, which was the star of, she played Ariel in the live action of The Little Mermaid. So she's talking about how great, you can see, total contrast to what she said before, how great the original movie was. It was outstanding. It was saying breaking at that time, from the frontier, and she was just so honored now to be playing Snow White and that sort of thing. I mean, total contrast. She did a 180 in terms of comments of what she said in that interview and what she's been saying all along. And so issues with that, and not only that, because of all the criticism, originally it was supposed to have been released, I think, in this year, March 2024, but they put it back a year. Why? Now, because of all the criticism of them getting rid of dwarves and bringing in these 7 magical creatures, so to speak. So they said they were changing it. So when people were hoping they were now going to have actual dwarfs, and they kind of didn't. Instead, they put in CGI dwarfs instead of actually hiring dwarf actors, giving dwarf actors a job. So, and they look so fake. I mean, CGI does cost a lot of money to do. And if you're doing a full movie, it does cost a bit. And so they had to do reshoots. And as I understand it, they're still doing reshoots. They're putting a lot of money doing reshoots on this movie, trying to save it because it's had so much bad publicity. I was trying to change this and this. And another thing still they haven't changed. Look, in the original movie, Snow White obviously escaped from the huntsman that the evil queen sent out to kill her. So she found the house of the 7 dwarfs, and I guess they were nice enough to give her shelter and protection. And in return, she did clean the house for them and cooked for them. Okay, and so it was a way of saying thank you. But I guess for most people, if someone does things for you, you do something nice for them in return, showing how grateful you are. But in this movie, she actually gets the dwarves to do work for her. Not only they gave her shelter, she tells the dwarf, okay, you clean up your room, you do the cooking, and she hands a broom to one of the dwarves, animated CGI dwarfs, by the way, and you sweep the floor. And she does nothing, as if it was actually some offensive. It's offensive to see a woman actually doing housework. like now it's beneath women to do that sort of thing. So like I think, hang on, you're really denigrating housework and work that women have been doing for thousands of years. What is wrong with housework? Because someone has to do it. But so women, in the case, I guess, their angle, women don't do housework, they're leaders. And I'm not sure how many little girls out there actually want to become leaders. Or women out there actually want to become leaders. If they're like, even with all the opportunities that given women now, I mean, I don't see many women putting their hands up and wanting to be leaders because, well, there is actually a lot involved in being a leader in everything, either corporate or whatever, and political hours, that how much dedication you need to do the job, and women have different priorities. Okay, as much as it irks feminists and progressives, by and large, if women are honest to themselves, no, that's not what I want to do. They want to have other things rather do. Okay? And this is coming from a woman. And I might get criticized, and maybe I don't want to become a leader, but other women can. But okay, let's have a show of hands. Women, ladies, how many of you want to lead and have the responsibility, make the difficult decisions, have so many people rely on you? Why can't we do what we want? Why force people to be something that they're not, and force them to want to be something that they naturally don't want to? Don't we have value as ourselves and things that we naturally are good at? You know, it's valuing people as they are, their skills, their natural skill sets. What's wrong with being a woman at the end of the day? Really? You know, and this entire, they tried to do turn a classic movie and tale into a feminist movie. No, she doesn't want true love. She doesn't do housework. She just wants to be a leader. Okay. And from whatever, and I don't think there really was a prince. I think there's someone named Andrew that acted in limited roles. But what Rachel has said in an interview, who knows, all of Andrew's scenes may get cut. It's Hollywood, baby.
Kind of prince.
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because like we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But
as one of her comments was. And so they're putting so much money into this movie and doing so many reshoots. Can you imagine the cost of it piling up? It's now hundreds of millions of dollars. Last I heard it was like $300 million the cost, but I don't know how much it's climbed to now. And what's happened, there's also issues between the lead actresses. Gal Gadot, if you're not aware, is an Israeli actress. And Rachel Zegler, at the moment, she's put out some pro-Palestine posts. And there's being, as you know, there's conflict at the moment between Israel and Palestine. And everyone's taking sides. And so evidently there's issues with that. I mean, look, and then there's lots of friction between the actresses. I mean, Gal doesn't want to be seen with Rachel anymore. And that means, well, look, both of them were up for, as part of the contract, I think, doing interviews about the role in the movies. It's part of promoting the movie. And so Gal doesn't want to do interviews with Rachel anymore, even though she's going to lose out monetarily wise. She's not going to be paid if she doesn't do the interviews. But also now because of all the comments Rachel Zegler has said, all the negative comments, I guess Disney has come out, it's decided not to have her do these interviews. And so she's lost money. I mean, Rachel's no longer being paid. I think I've heard reported $3 million extra to do those interviews when they're not going to let her do it. They don't want her to cause, I guess, more problems and create more damage than there already is. I mean, at this point in time, I'm not sure if there's even any point in releasing the movie at all? Why not just can it or have it straight to streaming? Because I'm not sure how many people would bother going to see it. Maybe there's curious people to go and see how bad it actually is, but I don't. And you might have some progressives just that go to see it to make some point. But if it's not going to be follow the original storyline, I don't know how many people are going to be interested, because people have nostalgia of the original movie, and I guess they expect a live action version of the animated movie to actually follow the original storyline, okay, about romance and love and so forth. So that is one big mess of a movie. And I guess it all started with progressive Disney, and from what I've heard, that Rachel's pretty much been cancelled. They've cancelled her. But whether or not Disney has learnt its lesson, I am not sure about that, seeing that reportedly they've hired some person to do DEI. For those that are not familiar, DEI stands for Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, and paying that person $200,000 a year. Officer looking after diversity. So maybe they still haven't learned. And look, they've lost so much money trying to do all this. Like I think the She-Hulk as well bombed, and they lost money from that, replacing that, doing female Ghostbusters. I wasn't sure if that was Disney, but no one wanted to watch that either, and watch Captain Marvel being a woman. People, look, it just doesn't gel trying to swap putting a female into what people know as a male character. You know, people don't want to see that. They want to watch it as it is. I mean, no one wants a male version of redo Aliens movie and have a male play Ripley. Come on. Expect it to be a female. You know, that sort of thing. It doesn't mean that there's no strong female characters. That's a case in point. If you want to have a strong female character, make a movie specifically showcasing the woman, a new movie. Come on, you have writers for a reason. Be creative, and so forth. So that is one big mess. But I think it's not money really they're concerned with. If they're happy to keep losing money one movie after another, I think it's more of they have an agenda, and I think it's more social engineering. They want us to follow no romance, I guess, and females in male roles. I haven't seen any males in traditional female roles yet, and do race swaps and have us suspend belief and just imagine it. But reality is human nature always rules, and people don't want to see that sort of thing. Now, we are still looking and discussing Rachel Zegler. Okay, star of the new live action Snow White movie that is being steep in lots of controversies and discussions at the moment, namely anger from traditional Disney fans and fans of the traditional Snow White tale. Because this actress has, in quite a few interviews, and shown disdain for the original movie, and those words came directly out of her mouth. She was not misquoted or misrepresented. Okay, at all. And she is quite a young actress. I think only 22 or so forth, but 23 now, I think. Yeah, 23. So, having a look at her chart, she was born at about 5 o'clock. What was it? 5:50, and on the 3rd of May 2001. So she is a Gen Z. And from that, her chart, her pillars are for the year. A reminder that this is Taoist astrology and not Western astrology that I look at and I use. Okay, her year pillar is Yin Metal Snake. Her month is Yang Water Dragon. Her day is Yang Fire Tiger, and her hour is Yang Metal Tiger. Now, from this, I can see that she is a changing chart. She really, on her pillars, they don't actually combine with each other. Okay, so combinations will depend on what comes along, be it her luck cycle, the year, the month, or even the day, so forth. And so there's no set pattern to them. And for these people with these charts, I always say, and we always say, that the best profession for them would probably be an actor, because they change with their roles. They have to be adaptable in whatever role that they play. And she has gone into acting as per her chart, which actually does suit her chart. So, looking at her history, what she's done, being quite a young person, she hasn't had that much that's gone on in the history, as opposed to actors that have been doing it for decades. Now, from the period 2016 to 2019, I guess up until she was 18, she was involved in a lot of school musicals. I mean, from 2016, she played Belle in Beauty and the Beast, another Disney. And in 2017, the next year, she played Ariel, the Little Mermaid in the school musical. And 2018, Dorothy Brock in 42nd Street. And 2019, she played Princess Fiona in Shrek. So they are all musicals. And that was during her horse luck cycle. Okay? And with the horse luck cycle, the horse combined it with her tiger on her, I would say, her day, and that created fire. So there's a half fire combination. And so then she became dominant. Okay, then after that, in 2021, that was the Ox year, and that was her film debut. She debuted in her first movie, West Side Story, and that was the Ox year, 2021, and there she was in the Yin Wood luck cycle. And then 2022, Tiger year, that's when she filmed Snow White. Okay. The tiger, that was the same as her hour and her day. Okay, so it could have been a big break for her, and it would have been a big break for her because it's such a big production, and she was the star of it. And I know she's been in, what do you call it? Not Game of Thrones. What was the other one? Oh, God. The one with Jennifer Lawrence. It just escaped me now. Hunger Games, yes. Hunger Games, but she was a minor character and a supporting character. But here in Snow White, she got to play the title character. Yeah, like I was saying, originally it was supposed to be released this year in the Dragon year in March. And however, it's been pushed back to March next year because of all these reshoots and redos. Very expensive as well once you have to redo anything. So her chart then next year would be Snake, would be the same as her year pillar, Snakes. So she then have be more of a fire as opposed to this year, which is Dragon, and so forth. Be water, I guess, trying to get some power. I mean, she's playing the power game, but it failed because that wasn't really strong power to begin with. So having a look at that, yeah, she's lost lots of opportunities. She hasn't been cast in a movie since Snow White, so it looks like all the jobs have just disappeared for. There's been actually no more roles lined up for her. And actually, she did Paddington Bear, and she was supposed to, I guess, return for Paddington Bear 3, but she's not returning. I guess the producers of that, I don't think that was Disney. I'm not sure if that was Disney. I guess they saw the light And so, not to cast her for anything. I guess once you've made a name for yourself being difficult or so forth, people don't want to use you, I guess, and also they don't want to risk her. Maybe she made another drama, but also the controversies that will follow her wherever she goes and whatever she would participate in at the moment. So her chart, it doesn't look like many. Would there be many roles for her? Would she be able to do a comeback, so to speak? Okay, it doesn't seem likely at the moment. Okay, though when she got her start, she was actually in a fire combination. That's why she got successive roles. So she was locked into that. And looking at the luck cycle, she doesn't actually get another combination until possibly 2035, where she goes into the monkey luck cycle. And the monkey then would combine with the snake. So she'll get a combination there. And so, from the looks of it, even the next luck cycle of the goat doesn't combine with any. It doesn't look like she'll be able to lift off again until then. A long wait for her. I mean, I guess she'll be lying low from now to 1935, which is another 11 years. Unfortunate for her. Maybe in the years in between, I mean, there's always going to be years where they're going to have combinations with her. In particular, if she manages to, I guess, combine with, let's say, the rooster year or monkey year or a dog year. I mean, last year was okay for her. I mean, last year was a rabbit year. They say it provided more, and then it provided a wood combination for her last year. But her controversies really started this year. So, it doesn't seem to be anything. And after, I guess, after dragon this year, next year would be snake, be the same as her year pillar. Then after that, maybe she'll get the horse, might come in 2026. Maybe she might do okay that year. Maybe get a role or some movies, but not really take off. Yeah, because you need more than 1 year to really get your career up and running, and that space would really be not until she enters the monkey luck cycle, which be in 2035. Because after 2026, I think 26 is the horse year, then you'll get goat, which doesn't combine. Then after goat, I guess she'll get monkey. She can probably get something there as well. So in 2027, monkey year, and also use rooster year 28. So she may do okay, get roles in 2027, 28, bits like that. But it's not really enough to push her up and have her take off, so to speak. So maybe she'll have to wait really until her 30s to take off again, when people have largely forgotten all the bad things she said in her youth and the entitlement mentality that people see her as having. So unfortunate for her, it doesn't seem too good for her in terms of her chart, her astrology chart-wise. I guess from here to then, she'll actually have to either do a 180 on her personality and be incredibly humble and so forth, because I remember she did release an apology video and she was basically crying in that video, saying, but because all the criticism and the flack she's gotten on social media and the hate messages she's been getting and criticizing her, she's not grateful. And being entitled, because I think there was a writer strike in Hollywood, and she had a placard and she was also striking. They interviewed her and she said, hey, if I'm going to be standing there for 18 hours in a Disney princess's costume, then I deserve to be paid for every hour that it's streamed. So from what she said, I'm paraphrasing, but from what people take from that is that she's very entitled and not grateful for the opportunities that she's been given. Because how many people are lucky enough to be cast in a Disney movie and playing a classic fairy tale, being part of a classic Grimm's Brothers fairy tale. And that apology video saying explaining how she's got so many hate messages and some even death threats as well, and saying, but she is grateful for the opportunities she's been given and so forth. But if you're doing that, I mean, I don't know how many people would believe that she's sincere in her apology, given all the comments she said before. I mean, she may entirely be genuine and sincere in her apology, but we don't really know because we we can't see into her heart. And I guess I don't know if people will buy the apology as being genuine. And as for me, something so quickly like that, I'm not sure if I believe it as well. And well, it may be absolutely true, but we don't know. Okay, so, and a lesson to all of us is don't basically rubbish your job and your employer or what your employer's done before. Okay, because that just sets out bad vibes for you. I mean, if she's done, I guess now the roles for her have dried up. She's not being offered anymore. Well, not that I know of. In terms of there's no more roles lined up for her. Nothing we hear that's in the pipeline that she's going to be involved in, because I guess other producers, other houses are going to say, can we risk it? Would she then disparage our movie if we let her in, if we cast her? What's going to happen? And so she herself creates a lot of doubt. I mean, you can put it on to her as being young, inexperienced, and immature in not understanding what she's been doing. But some people take that as her entire generation. She's a symptom of the entire generation. Z has been entitled and not wanting to work hard and not being grateful, and to her really just not reading the room. I'm surprised no one has tapped her on the shoulder early on or coached her and advised her things like this. And so that's what adults should be doing. I guess parents should be doing. I don't know how her parents have taught her, if they even bother teaching her things like this in terms of surviving in the world and how you have to interact. And this is one thing I have a beef with regarding parents, is parents are not doing their job. It's not enough to just raise your child to be physically big, okay, and then send them off on their own devices. No, you have to train them. You have to teach them, because you've had the benefit of decades of life experience and all that you know. Why don't you pass that on to your child? It doesn't cost you anything. It's not like sending them to private schools where it costs you so much money. And parents do that because they want their child to get ahead. Well, you can allow your child to get ahead by this teaching them, passing on your wisdom and your experience to them, and it doesn't cost you anything. And they can still get ahead, and they'll be better equipped to deal with life. Okay, so that's my beef with parents on this, and I guess you can also blame her parents for not teaching her. So that's Rachel Zegler. And so, a bit of an immature girl that doesn't realize you've made missteps and put people offside, then it does have long-term consequences and repercussions, which she is experiencing now. Well, it's very much financial at the moment. Look, she's not going to be missing out on $3 million she could have been paid doing interviews regarding Snow White, which Disney cancelled because they just can't risk it. How people are going to receive her, and what comments she's going to be saying and things during interviews. So a big lesson for Rachel. and for all the young people as well. Now, to make marriage great, you have to first pick the right partner. Pick a partner before you marry. And going on with this today's theme of them progressive, and the trend at the moment is pushing women to be strong and independent and not do the traditional female roles. And so a part of society now is basically denigrating, would you say denigrating or say revering the wild, strong, independent woman. And it's almost like they project it as being something women need to aspire to become. Wild, strong, and independent. Independent and what, being by yourself? Not sure where that's going, but anyway, now it comes to a point. So these type of women the type of women that society now wants to push, are they actually a good choice to marry? So, and I guess society now pushing strong, independent women, and particularly feminists now saying you don't have to marry. I mean, attach yourself to a man and just be strong and independent on your own. However, human nature is that, we all want companionship. Well, I wouldn't say we all want love, and that also involves companionship. I think lots of people would like companionship because it does actually get lonely being on your own. And so these women would have to think about, well, what do they really want? Is being a life there, being a leader, being all that on your own, or be with someone. But if you've already got that mentality and that personality, is marriage itself a good idea for you? And on the other side of things, for men, should you be picking these women for marriage or long-term partnership? Because a wild, strong, independent woman at first thought might seem very desirable, as they would be, interesting and fun to be around. And I guess that's what a lot of men think when they say, I want a woman to be able to stand on her own 2 feet. However, for many practical reasons, they do make a poor choice for marriage. And I'm going to go into that. Because we're conditioned by society and media that this strong, independent woman is desirable. And the fact that those are the most praised and admired is that they're considered the top and premium class of women. And like I say, they're all implying that all women should aspire to be that way. But you have to consider the unique challenges and also strengths that come with this type of personality in a partnership setting, in a partnership circumstance. Because, all right, first of all, let's just define by what's meant by a strong, independent woman. And this term can mean different things to different people. But it generally refers to a woman that is confident, self-sufficient, and capable of standing up for herself and her beliefs. And a strong, independent woman may have a successful career, be financially independent, and be comfortable making decisions on her own. Now, one potential benefit of marrying a strong, independent woman is that she is likely to be a partner who is able to support and encourage you in your own goals and ambitions. And she may also bring a unique perspective and a range of valuable skills to the partnership. However, it's important to recognize that a strong, independent woman may also have certain characteristics that can present challenges in a marriage. For example, she may be used to making decisions on her own, so may need to work on compromising and also considering her partner's input. Okay? It may also be challenging for a strong, independent woman to find a balance between being independent and interdependence in a relationship, because remember, I keep stressing that a relationship, especially a marriage, is a partnership. And in a partnership, you are a member of a team. You are a team member. So what do team members do? They have to work together. They have to think about the other person as well, their input, and maybe even prioritize someone else. So can she do that? Because remember, she is going to have strong opinions and like to do things her own way. And also likely to think because of that, they don't need anyone, least of all being attached to a man. It may sound nice to have strong opinions and, you think that they'll be interesting to be around and to talk to. As, women that are agreeable are generally seen as boring, because on the other hand, women who are good with housekeeping and are conservative, good at cooking and so forth, they're rightly or wrongly, they're seen as boring and not a challenge, so to speak. This is a thing, a challenge. I don't know why people say it's necessary. It might be interesting and you go through it, but in the end, where does the challenge stop? If you keep doing that challenge all the time, and then in the end, you are going to be very tired. So you want to stop doing it. And then you want a quiet life at home. And who's best to provide that? The conservative woman who's good at cooking and housekeeping and wants a quiet life as well. Because now the wild independent woman may seem exciting to hang around. However, it also brings other complications, because a person that likes to do things her own way would also usually be selfish and think of themselves and not others. Whereas in a marriage, and in any sort of partnership, you cannot be selfish. You have to think of the other person or the other team member in your team. So if you just want someone to date and meet up with, then an interesting partner would be the way to go, as they are going to be fun and you only need to be entertained while you're with them, because they're not going to have any practical impact on your life. However, what happens if you have to live with her, or if you live with her, or share a life with her, or raise a family with her? What then? Well, if she constantly wants to be on the move, once she gets bored and seek more excitement, how will she do if you have to settle down somewhere? What are going to be the consequences if she's constantly unpredictable? You need to settle down if you want to raise children. Would she be able to do that? Just think about that. Because even if you don't want children, how would you feel if she might be with you, but then regularly take off without any notice, as she's a free spirit, that she comes and goes as she pleases and she can't be relied on to do anything because she's a free spirit? The most important question is, will she be able to put others before herself? Again, because, be unselfish. Really think about it. Being able to think of others before herself. And because that's what you have to do when you have a partner. And unquestionably, when you have children. Or will it still be her putting herself first before anyone else? Because she's used to being independent. Her wants before even her children's needs. Because as with any relationship, it takes work and effort from both partners to create a successful and fulfilling marriage. Therefore, you need to think really carefully if you can live with all those traits, and potentially have to do everything when she has her moments and decides to take off. To either find herself somewhere or go into be involved in a commune, so to speak. And leave the kids behind. Then what happens there? So think very carefully, because like I say, there are always differences between the people you date and the people you marry. And I would put her definitely in the group that you date, but not marry, for all those reasons that I've listed. Because marrying is basically, settling down, as I keep the term settling down, because you really have now made a commitment to another person. You're now, I wouldn't say joined at the hips, but now you're in partnership. And so it's always from now on, once you marry, it's an us and a we, not an I and a me. Okay? Just really think about it. And so who's suitable to be part of the us and a me, especially when you're going out with someone. So they say, the people that you date and people that you marry for very, very good reasons. And I've illustrated, this is one of those reasons. Okay? Now, to make marriage great, you have to choose the right partner. Very, very important. And remember, this is a partnership. And part of that is, as the old vows say, forever, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health. Now, most people can do the better and can do the health, but how many people can do the worse, and especially the sickness? But you know what? That's also a very good barometer and a very good gauge of your partner's true feelings for you, is what their actions during sickness, when you are ill. And this doesn't need to be specifically for men, it's for everyone. And this is how you gauge a person's true nature and true feelings for you. Because when someone is sick, if you're sick, the care from your spouse and support can speak volumes about their love and concern for you. If find out your partner's behavior when you are ill can speak volumes about their true feelings for you. You see, when a person's sick, they are often the most vulnerable and in need of care and support. How a partner responds to their spouse's illness can be telling of their level of love and concern for them. A partner who is caring and attentive when their spouse is ill is likely demonstrating their love and affection for them. This may involve taking time off work or other responsibilities to care for their sick partner, running errands for them, or simply being present to provide emotional support. On the other hand, a partner who is indifferent or neglectful when their spouse is sick may not have the same level of love and concern for their well-being. This type of behavior can be hurtful and can create feelings of resentment or lack of connection in the relationship. If a wife becomes frustrated or angry when her husband is sick, it could be a sign that she does not have as much emotional investment in the relationship. She may not be as patient or understanding and may not go out of her way to help him feel better. This type of behavior can be hurtful and may make the person who is sick feel even worse. Just imagine that you're sick and your partner's not caring, just going about their daily lives as if you don't exist, in other words. And it's really hurtful, to tell you the truth. If anyone's had experienced that, you know what I mean. A case in point is, just imagine you've suffered a health condition like you've had a heart attack or a stroke. Would she look after you during this time when you're spending time recovering? Cook all the meals and help dress and bathe you? If she doesn't work, will she step up and start working to bring in some money when you are unable to and help keep you both afloat? It doesn't have to be as much as what you bring in, but at least something to keep you both going while you recover. Or will she be resentful and annoyed that you're not able to bring in the money that you used to, you normally are. That's really telling. Because just imagine if you had injured your right hand, then if your left hand, had step up and take over the duties of your right hand, do most of the work while your right hand recovers. Otherwise, you won't be able to do anything if your left hand doesn't. And your left hand is not going to be as efficient or as good as the right hand at doing the task, but it doesn't need to be. It only needs to be able to do enough to get by until the right hand recovers and can resume its role as the dominant hand again. Because let's face it, if you're right-handed, when you reach for something that only needs one hand, first thing you do is use your right hand, pick up this or that, open the door. It's only one hand that you use, yeah? And it's normally, if you're right-handed, your right hand. And, you may even be able to see an indication of how she will behave and her true feelings for you before you even marry by observing how she acts and treats you before you marry. So this is the big kicker, and this is something I will give advice on later on about how to pick her out and how to actually, not even just a woman, how to assess people generally, whether it be male or female, of their nature and how they're going to act after you've made the commitment. During the dating stage, there's always certain signs that they give off. And you have to know what to look for and how to pick up on them and interpret them and what they actually mean. So that's the sort of thing that I will go into in my later shows. Because first of all, people need to understand about relationships, how they should work, and how your partner should behave first. And then I will be going into now how to select for those traits. When you first know about the traits, then you have to know how to select for them. And that means how to look out for them and assess them. Regarding how your partner would treat you when you are ill, how much love they have for you, okay? You can do that during the dating stage because take an example of Andrew. He and Sarah went to a holiday in one of the less developed countries. I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been the Philippines. Andrew got sick. He got food poisoning and was throwing up. And that's also always a risk when you go holidaying in one of the less developed countries. Might have had off food from a street vendor somewhere or something like that, or the water is not what you're used to, especially when you're not conditioned and you're not used to the types of bugs and bacteria that would be around in the country, which the local population is already used to and immune to, but you don't. Your body isn't used to that. So you're actually quite vulnerable. And I know a lot of people have gotten food poisoning on those types of trips. So if you do, like Andrew, and constantly throwing up in the hotel room and feeling seriously sick. Now, he didn't want to go to the local hospital there because he couldn't trust what the conditions were going to be, and the thought of the hospital there also made him sick, I guess. So he just stayed in the hotel room hoping he was going to recover on his own. So what did Sarah do? Was she there with him? Was she looking after him? Possibly feeling very concerned, trying to get medication for him or to make him feel better, or even call a doctor, find a doctor that could come and do a visit, or ask the hotel or anything like that. Or maybe try to get some type of liquid that he could drink or take in. Worry about rehydrating him from after throwing all that all the time. She didn't do any of that. Instead, she went shopping. I guess she didn't want him throwing up and being sick, ruining her holiday, and I guess she always didn't want to miss out on her shopping. So I don't know if that doesn't tell you big red flags. I'm not sure what does. And this is just in the dating stage. And remember, people usually, if they're not putting up a face, people just act themselves and not think about how it looks. The more cleverer ones do. They really think and they put up a front. I guess it all comes down to incentive, how much they want the relationship. Especially, say, if that other person's particularly wealthy. If you're particularly wealthy, like a billionaire, as you see, billionaires get surrounded by all these yes men and people wanting to please them all the time because it's a big enough incentive. But people that don't have as big enough incentive, I guess they don't put up the front so much and try not to please so much. So, I think if it was a billionaire throwing up being sick in the hotel room, then the girlfriend would be beside herself with worry and fussing all over him and calling up all this help and that help. And he'll have all that help. Though granted, he probably wouldn't have food poisoning in the first place because he'll be probably eating at 5-star establishments. But you know what I mean. Because just think about it. They were not in as good a position as billionaires. We're more likely to be in a position like Andrew. And so if you were ill like Andrew was, you are going to want and need to be looked after as you were not in a position to look after yourself. I think you're so helpless there. However, if your partner left you as you were, not fun, like Sarah did, to seek her own entertainment instead, how would you feel? Because when you are this ill, normally a loving partner would be beside themselves with concern and look after you until you were at least feeling well enough to look after yourself. Well enough. Now, this case clearly shows that Sarah did not actually love Andrew and she has shown herself to be selfish. So that's how you interpret it. And that's pretty obvious if you think of it, but I guess not many people think of it that way. But these are the signs that you need to pick up on. Because this is clearly a signal not to marry someone like Sarah, as she's not going to be there from when you need her. If she's not already there for you during this dating stage, where it should be the honeymoon period, people showing, put on their best and showing the best foot forward, so to speak. What is she going to be like after you actually marry? And when things, the novelty wears off and you're so used to each other. So have a think about that. Because how a partner treats their spouse when they're ill can be a clear indication of how they feel towards them. Remember, a loving and caring partner would go above and beyond to support their spouse in times of illness, while a neglectful or indifferent partner may not prioritize their well-being in the same way. You really want a caring partner, because that's one that's also a team player, and this also alludes to the lack of loyalty on Sarah's part as well. Really major big flags, and one I can pretty much say should be a deal breaker for you. Some people might just, especially people that have low self-confidence, just hang their head down and accept it, but no one should accept this type of behavior. Okay? And now we're coming towards the end of the show. And it's quite an interesting show today, because I've had a look at the chart of quite a very young celebrity, Rachel Zegler. They playing the title character of the new Snow White live-action movie remake of the original. And if you've been on social media, you would have heard so many controversies about that movie. First of all, it started with them with the casting of a Latino actress playing a German princess that was skin as white as snow. Supposedly, that's why the name was Snow White. Her name was Snow White. and getting rid of the dwarfs and having 7 magical creatures instead. I mean, that just put people offside straight away. Beloved dwarfs. I mean, what is Snow White without the 7 dwarfs is what most people feel. And they feel that they've been gypped kind of thing by not having getting the 7 dwarfs. And so after all that slack, Disney has caved in and got rid of the 7 magical creatures. And I think they did reshoots with her, and then they put CGI dwarfs instead of hiring real dwarfs and giving them dwarf actors a job. Which are roles for dwarf actors are very few and far between in Hollywood, as you can imagine. I mean, when was the last time you saw a dwarf in a movie? What people can think of is Peter Dinklage again in Game of Thrones. That was it. I mean, he's the most famous dwarf actor, and I think the dwarf community was very angry at him by saying things to deny them a role in a Hollywood movie, as the way they see it. And and it did not help it all at all. I mean, look, Disney didn't help at all by using those CGI characters. They had to be reshoot, and so to incorporate those CGI characters. And I guess the lead actress herself did not help matters. Actually, a lot of the flack was, I guess, controversies created by the lead actress Rachel Zegler from all her comments. That she disparaged the original animated movie, like saying it was released in 1937 and very evidently so. And besides saying that, having the prince dreaming about a romance with a prince that literally stalks her. Weird. And all those comments have come back to bite her. I guess it showed inexperience and immaturity on her part. But I guess now Disney has basically cancelled her. She's no longer doing any interviews, pulling her from interviews, which she was going to be paid for. So she's not going to be paid for that. So financially, she's taking a big hit. But I guess this is also a lesson for the young actors. And they're saying, like, you're young, you don't have the clout behind you or the megastar. I guess then the big companies, production companies, can you just spit you out, so to speak, if it no longer suits you. I mean, with big stars like, say, Tom Cruise and things like that, they'll be fine, absolutely fine. I mean, they wouldn't be crossed like the way Disney has crossed Rachel Zegler here by pulling the plug on her, so to speak. So she's got no more roles lined up that people know of. People think, normally talk about this actor, that actress has done this, and then later they're in line to play this other role and has an audition, and they're cast in another role. They're going to be starting production on that pretty soon, but it's basically nothing. And she's lost the role in Paddington Bear 3, which I think she was in Paddington Bear before, but they've cut her out of this. Again, I don't know if it was a different studio that's doing Paddington Bear, but I guess they didn't want to risk having this actress there. I mean, even though she may behave herself doing Paddington Bear, but I just think that they didn't want the mud that she brings with her to stick on them and Paddington Bear 3 as well. So I guess a lesson for us all, and for everyone, not to mess up your food bowl or your rice bowl. Don't smash it, and don't mess up your bed. You got to make your bed, you sleep in it. And remember, there's always, for young people, there's always a power imbalance there as well. And looking at her chart, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like she'll be getting things will get better for her soon. I mean, she's got to wait several years, I guess. So I guess people forget about her antics when she was young. And then when she's mature, I guess with time, people can forget and just put it down to her being inexperienced with youth. But at the moment, no. She's not getting away with it at the present time. And also, listen, please, studios or Hollywood, can you cast actors of the race for the roles of that race? You know, it's bad enough they used to do it in last century when they cast white actors playing blacks, Native Americans, and Asians and Chinese, and so it was ridiculous. And just putting their makeup on, trying to make them have an appearance of another race that they're playing. But now things have swung the other way, and putting black actors in white roles for diversity and equity's sake. I mean, please, why can't we cast actors of a race playing characters of that same race? Because at the end of the day, when you watch a movie, you need to feel like it's believable. You know, if I'm watching a movie about Henry VIII nearing death, I don't want to see a skinny guy playing Henry VIII, because we all know that he was fat. He was obese, morbidly obese, and we're used to that image of him. And that's what we expect to see. You know, not a skinny guy playing Henry VIII. At least when he was older, it makes no sense. Just like if you were say, okay, let's do a biopic on Barack Obama and have Russell Crowe play him. You don't buy it. You know, so you try to suspend disbelief and you just don't buy it. It makes no sense. So heaven forbid, if they ever cast a black actor playing a Chinese emperor. That would be the beyond ridiculous then. You can imagine they probably wouldn't dare, because imagine the outcry from the whole of China if they were to do that. They would lose so much money because Hollywood did its best to appease China in certain things. I think the Top Gun sequel, they removed, might have been, I don't know if it's Japanese flag or Korean or Taiwanese flag or something, off Tom Cruise's jacket. He had a jacket with multiple flags on it, and they removed that because they didn't want to offend China, because they still wanted to be able to have the movie shown in China. Otherwise, it was going to get banned. So can you imagine if they put a black actor cast as saying the last emperor of China, something like as Puyi, where we know for a fact that he was Asian and he looked Asian. He was Manchurian Chinese, and he looked the part. And so now we're going to have suspend disbelief and say, have Will Smith play him. How well would that go down? And you're watching that, you just can't buy the movie. People we off-put it, cannot watch it. And I don't know why they expect people to watch things this way, and having a brown lady playing a character supposedly skin as white as snow. I was saying some comments were Snow Brown, not Snow White. So come on, people. Come on, Hollywood. Cast the actors of the race, which is the same as the characters that they are playing. Okay? It can't be that difficult. That's what people want to watch. Because especially in a historical drama or a character that people are familiar with, we expect to see that. It's just like we're back then. I think there was a big controversy with a documentary on Cleopatra, and the whole of Egypt was suing them for that Netflix. I think it was Netflix documentary, and they had a black actress playing Cleopatra. They're saying, oh, Cleopatra was black. No, she was actually Greek. She was part of the Ptolemy dynasty that was started from a general of Alexander the Great. I think he died, and his empire was divvied up amongst his generals, which were Greek, Macedonian. And so all his descendants would have been Greek, because they had a habit of inbreeding, marrying. I think ancient Egypt, marrying brothers and sisters married. That was the norm back then. And so she would not have been black. She would have been Greek. And so Egypt was suing them, and they say, look, it's all right if it's even, let's say it wouldn't have been as bad if it was a movie, but they're billing it as a documentary. And this documentary is basically saying historical facts. Saying that. So that was a big hoo-ha about that. No, I can't see the point. And also, yeah, and continuing with my advice for men, is really a strong, independent woman a good career, partner choice? someone because basically you have to remember what the personality of them, that they are not used to considering others and so forth, because they're used to being independent. And what is a marriage is being a team and thinking of others within that. So is someone like that suitable for marriage? Being part of a team when they're so used to doing things on their own and making their own calls and not thinking of others simply because they're strong and independent and not having to accept other people's inputs. Are they open to accepting someone else's advice and thinking of someone else? So think about that. And also the big thing, I guess, for everyone, not just men, is that how does your partner treat you when you are ill? That's the time when you need your partner the most, and if they're not around to do that, well, what's a partner for? It's not just the better and in health, it's the worst and in sickness as well. And if you're dating someone and they don't care about you when you're ill, major red flag. It should be, because even the honeymoon, the dating is basically a honeymoon period where the people are putting the best foot forwards. And even this is what they're doing. And how would they be then when you actually marry? And when things become familiar, become mundane. So big red flag, I say basically deal breaker, do not proceed any further when a partner does not care the least when you are ill. Okay? Or even when you're dating, not even show concern. When you're ill, ring up and ask how you are. So that's my advice. And so really think about it, And the next time, if you're in a relationship, next time you're ill, how does your partner act? Or when you're dating? Not even when you're married. And if you're married and that happens, well, it's a symptom of deeper issues. Okay? So have a think about it and let me know what you think about today's show and what I've said by leaving your comments on my Facebook page. You just have to search for Miss Dragonfly and it'll come up. And if there's a topic or an area that you'd like me to cover, then please feel free to leave your comments about that there as well. And if I'm able to, then I will do that. I will cover that topic. So that's it for today, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. And make sure you tune in again, same time next week. And until then, it's bye for now.